Welcome back everybody, Jared here with another video today, and in today's video I will be continuing off my previous video that is on my top 5 tips for getting into photography. So as you can guess and you've seen in the title, today's video will be on my top 5 tips for getting into videography. So during my time doing videography, I constantly have friends, clients alike, who are curious about what's life like as a videographer. And for those who are actually interested in videography, I constantly get questions like, what does it take to be a videographer and where do I start? And you're probably here watching this video because you're probably interested in this line, and also you probably have similar questions in mind as well, or you want to know where to start and where the motivation comes from. So before I get into anything else, I should say that videography is slightly more complex than photography in certain aspects. But for the most of it, or for some of it at least, it still is the same. So if you're still unsure of what to do, getting started and warmed up to this and still testing your waters, I really suggest you check out my previous video, my top 5 tips for getting into photography first, as that video covers more of the basics before you continue. So yeah, shameless plug again, I shall link that video in the description box below, and once you're ready, let's get into it. Are you ready? Let's go! Okay, you might have noticed that I changed my attire because it's really getting hot in here from recording this video, because I have to turn off my fan and my air conditioner, and cotton, it feels uncomfortable when you're sweating, so dry fit for the win. Which brings me to my very first point, and that is lighting and audio. So for most people starting out, and even when I was at that stage, there was this misconception that, oh, as a videographer, you just go around and get good shots, capture the event and document it. But we neglect the two very crucial aspects, and that is your lighting and audio. Well, if you're an event, wedding videographer, or you're shooting a nature documentary, you might find that in certain situations, you just don't have full control of the lighting condition at the scene. For example, the very harsh lighting at a hotel ballroom or a seminar hall, or the crazily bright lights at an auditorium. Well, no choice, sometimes that's just what happens, and in that case, that's where your skills come into play to actually capture decent footage to bring back in the edits. But in most situations, you have the event details, you know the gist of the shoot, you can ask the client for pictures of the location, for example. You can Google them yourself sometimes even. And in shoots where you have control over the timing, you should do your best to plan in the way that, for example, avoid the harsh afternoon sunlight where it gives you a very flat lighting and harsh shadows. Or you already know you're going to shoot in a very dark restaurant, reception hall, or a very dark ballroom. Bring your own lights to provide you with good lighting, because you'll really hate yourself if you're sitting in front of your laptop or your computer staring at the footage, and either you've blown your highlights and you now cannot recover them, or your shadows are too dark and now when you try to push them back, there is a ton of image noise, and you know that all that could have been avoided if you just went the extra mile and brought a few lights along. Another crucial aspect that is neglected by beginners is audio, as most don't understand the importance of audio just yet. They just go around shooting and letting the camera capture whatever audio that is going on. And you'll probably be surprised to know that audio and sound design makes up 50% of the experience. If you're intending to use audio from the location, or furthermore capture it yourself, never use the camera on board mic, because it never sounds good. It just never has, and it probably never will for some time to come. And if you're just starting out, you've spent most of your budget on camera equipment already, and you are just hearing this, you're probably gonna go online, Lazada, Amazon, whatsoever, and scroll through and realize that audio equipment is just really damn expensive. Well, most of us, we experience that at a certain point as well, and don't worry, you can still get decent audio from affordable options such as the Rode Video Micro I have here. I've been using it since the start and it has served me well, and I'm still using it now. So this is what the camera audio sounds like without the mic on, and now I shall put on the mic and you will hear what it sounds like. And now that is with the mic plugged in, and I think we should all hear a significant difference in the sound of the audio. But if you want and you need to provide higher quality audio, which you should be aiming for eventually, invest in a more expensive shotgun mic or get a lavalier mic. That will give you cleaner audio. If you've done photography or you've seen photographers during run and gun situations, for example events, weddings and whatnot, you'll probably realize that they have one or two cameras already strapped to themselves and probably add on a few more lenses here and there. Last thing you want is to carry around a heavy and long tripod, which means that in photography is not the most necessary thing to get a tripod unless you're doing landscapes or long exposures where you need to leave the camera in one spot for a certain amount of time. But as for videography, getting a tripod is quite essential. For example, doing an interview style, or you have to track and follow somebody who's talking on stage. You need a tripod because your hands just won't hold the camera there, and that's still for that long, and you can't mimic the movement of a tripod better than a tripod does, right? But before you buy a tripod, know the difference between a photography tripod and a videography tripod. Don't go out and buy the wrong thing, because for videography we use fluid head tripods, and that means that our tripods can pan from left to right and tilt up and down smoothly and in a more controlled manner. And then again, you might realize that very high quality video tripods meant for cinecams and whatnot, they are really expensive. Some even go up to $10,000. But if you're just starting out, fret not, there are cheaper options out there that are meant for your DSLR and mirrorless cameras that are significantly cheaper than professional grade tripods that are meant for heavier and bulkier setups. I even own two of them, and I shall tell you more in a future episode, so subscribe to stay tuned. Next is a common myth among beginners and something that I hear quite often, and that is gimbals and crazy slow motions gives you good shots. And that, I would say, it's true to a certain extent, and that's only when you've reached the limits of what you can do with a handheld camera or a camera on a tripod, which if you're just starting out, you'll take some time to reach there. Don't rush into getting gimbals and getting crazy slow motion footage, because even if you have a gimbal that gives you smooth shots, even if you have 10 million frames per second slow motion, but as long as you don't know how to shoot, your footage is still gonna be shit. Because like I've said to many before, even if you're given or you own the best gear in the world, as long as you don't know how to shoot, it does not matter. So in short, no point rushing so quickly to get these fancy equipment and gear until you really can get creative and know how these gear and equipment can boost the production value of your video, because that new piece of gear is just another tool for you and to aid your video production. And if you don't know how to use it, there's no point in the existence of that tool. Don't waste your money. So you've gone out, got your sick footage, and now you're coming back and we are going to start editing. So again, another misconception by beginners is that throwing in as many fancy transitions and special effects will automatically boost the production value of your videos, but unfortunately, no. In editing, adding too many special effects and crazy transitions isn't the key to making a good film. There is really much more to editing than just combining a bunch of clips over your favorite soundtrack or song and then throwing on top a bunch of fancy transition and light leaks and thinking that it will automatically become a world-class film. Well, it just does not work that way. Your film can be a simple travel vlog or a simple event highlight video, but it should always have a story to it. So I like to use this simple analogy to explain it. The story in your film is like a slice of marinated beef. The salt and pepper you add on later is like adding on your fancy transitions and special effects. If your beef itself is already wrong, it does not take a professional to tell that your beef is spoiled or not well cooked.
It's raw!
And no matter how much salt and pepper you add on after that, it's not going to change anything. Similarly, it does not take a world-class director to identify that your film is just a bunch of clips mashed together. Because literally anybody can tell that your film lacks the essence of a story because they just can't connect and relate to it. Even movies don't need to use zoom transition, pan transitions and twirly swirly transitions, but you still find that it's a good film because you can connect and relate to whatever the characters are going through in the film, and that's what makes it so good. So only when you've got the gist of visual storytelling coupled with some sound design and a suitable music or soundtrack, that's when transitions and special effects and your light leaks, whatever you want to use, will come in and slightly spice up your videos and add that finishing touch to it. Even so, that does not mean your video is going to be magically become good, because some people just get too excited when using all these fancy transitions until the worst happens, and that is they literally overdo it. And overdoing it means that they distract the audience from the main story that's going on, and you're back at square one. So remember this, transitions just slightly helps to touch up and spice up your video, that's it. And even so, they're subjective. Some people like it, some people don't like it. So what's most important and the most captivating is that story you portray with your film. Why so expensive? Aiya, only one simple video lah. Just chop combine together a few clips. Shouldn't be too hard for you, right? You very seasoned already. Those are some frequent comments I receive from friends and clients out in the field, which brings me to my final point, and that is learning to educate your clients, friends and family, which will clear up the misconception of the time and effort you're putting in, and at the same time educate them on what they are paying for. Also, unless the client insists or tells you that I'm really on a budget and I can leave off a simple video, there is really no harm in going the extra mile to recommend the best for them, because it will show them that you care for them and you want the best for their video. Don't forget, at the same time, it is also an avenue to market yourself, because it gives you quality work to put in your portfolio to win over potential clients. Well, to sum up this whole video, firstly, it's not all about the expensive gear and accessories or the millions of transitions or light leaks that you have, and that you should be more focused on the main thing, that is to know how to shoot and to bring out the story first before anything else, and that these salt and peppery stuff, they will come later on, and whether you have it or not, sometimes it may not make much of a difference. And secondly, your career as a videographer, filmmaker, or photographer likewise should never be solely driven by money only. Your mindset for your career should be more about the fiery passion and the heart to bless people with the best you can give. Because if you're solely driven by money, soon enough you'll see and it will be reflected in your work that you don't have any heart for it at all. If you are driven by passion, you will naturally strive to do better and better each time, and money will come naturally. And that's my top 5 tips for getting into videography. Hope you've gained some insight on filmmaking and videography. And once again, leave a like, subscribe and comment down below if you have any other topics you want me to discuss in a future video, and see you soon.